named Jeff.
Mexican Americans like to read the Bible and listen to RC Sproul. Oh. Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is the chill live stream. This ain't nothing like, doing interviews or nothing like that. This is straight up just after dinner party. What's going on, mi gente? ¿Qué está pasando? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. If this is your first time to Bible Theory, let me know where you're from, where you're listening. And, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well. If you like the content, if you find this edifying, if you listened to my stuff before, you know what to do. Welcome back. Thank you so much. Let me know if you're watching this on the replay gang. Where you at? Hey, it's that Monday. Woo! Hey, Monday vibes all around here, man. Ain't no Monday blues, none no more. Not with Jesus. Not with Jesus. Yo, we got that Holy Spirit up in us. Woo! Man. Hey, yo. So today we're gonna be, chilling after dinner party, sipping some mint tea, peppermint tea after dinner, y'all. Where you at? Anyways, great show today. Great things going on in the world today. And I know there's other people going on live, so I won't keep you too long. I'll go ahead and tidy these up, make this nice and short for you. But thank you so much for stopping by. My friend Jason is going to be doing an important interview on his channel. Dear Woke Christian is going to be doing an interview right now at 7:15, which is in a couple minutes. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of things live right now, like the Truth and Love Network. The two brothers over there talking about the defense of the Holy Spirit and all this stuff. So go ahead and check them out. So, but I know there's other things you could be watching. So I'm just letting you know. I did watch the Canelo fight. So go ahead and let me know down below if you watched it. I watch boxing. I still love it. I grew up watching Oscar de la Hoya, Cesar Chavez. I grew up watching boxing. I grew up in a boxing environment. My family, my mom, everybody watched boxing. So I watched it, and don't be hating. Yo, Canelo's number one, bro. I don't care what you say. Anyways, I would have more respect for Star Wars. I have not been watching the Star Wars on Disney Plus. It's been a temptation of mine. I did watch Mandalorian season 1, season 2. I heard some pretty disappointing things on season 3. So I won't listen, to the updates, because I probably will eventually watch those seasons. But I just got a cool idea for Star Wars and Disney Plus. What if they did a whole season, like 6-8 episodes of Cad Bane? Yo, that'd be sick. Cad Bane? Yo, get out of here, man. Get out of here with that. Anyways, I did see the new clip that came out, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for PS5. That looks pretty dope. I do play video games here once in a while. Not too much, but I did watch the trailer and it looks pretty dope. Can't wait to go ahead and hit that up as well. Man, there's a lot of things going on today. I wish I could, touch base with all the topics that I want to talk about. But today is special. Today's special, and I promise you, I've been waiting to do this for a long time, and I have answered some of these questions before, but never on my show. I never answer any of these questions on my show. I have done it on other people's shows before, and that's talking about, how I, talk to Christians. If you know my channel, I've talked to many Christians, theologians, book authors, bloggers, pastors, elders, teachers, professors, all kinds of people I've been talking to, and it's been a privilege. So I'm going to break that down on how I talk to them, some of my favorite interviews, my favorite moments, what have I learned from all these things, talking to all these awesome people. But before we do that, let's go ahead and, type in thechicanoKnox.com. Go ahead and sign up to my newsletter, read my free blog as well. I have tons of stuff that I want to do with that website. eventually I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go on there and start selling stuff, not just t-shirts. Go ahead and grab your t-shirts. Renew your mind. This is an awesome t-shirt. If you're out there walking around the mall, you're walking your son to school, you're like taking you're exercising or something like that, or going out grocery shopping. This catches and turns heads, yo. This right here, renew your mind. People are like, what is that? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. Let me go ahead and tell you one of my favorite Bible verses. It's in Romans, and it talks about renew your mind. And this is what this means. Boom. Go ahead and buy the shirt. It's on my website. Not my website. Soon will be on my website, but it's on my T Public store. Go ahead and support the show by taking your phone right here and boom, copying that QR code and copying, go ahead and throw me a support, buy me a coffee. You know what I mean? How much a cup of coffee costs nowadays? $5, $4. If it doesn't hurt you so much, go ahead and support your ministry here. This is a small ministry. This ain't just media, content creation. This is ministry. I see this as ministry. There's evidence of that. I've been told there's evidence of that. Also, testimonies. So I know it's ministry. This is the way I approach it. I'm going to talk about that tonight. If you want to get behind that, you want this to grow. I have plans. You want to invest. Perhaps you have a lump sum and you want to invest. I have a vision that I would like to do, and maybe you're part of that, or maybe you want to play a part of that. You know what I mean? So go ahead, hitch your wagon to Bible Theory. You will not get disappointed, and buy me a few coffee cups and coffee mugs, and you know what I mean? Support my addiction for coffee. That will go a long way in supporting the show. All right. So let's get down to business. All right, so how do I get these interviews, man? All these people ask me like, "Yo, you had this guy. Yo, man, that was a tight interview." I get emails and from Mexico, Mexico City. I got tons of listeners in Mexico, pastors that listen to me, and people in Arizona, California. I check my analytics. I got people like in India, Australia, Canada, Germany. I like to tell my kids, I'm internationally known. Everybody knows me, but a couple people here and there don't know me, but a lot of people know me in India, in Iraq. I got people like in Iran. Think about it. I got Christians listening to Bible Theory in Iran. Isn't that amazing? And guess what they're listening to? They're not just listening to me, talk and rant and all these things. I like to think about my channel, Bible Theory Podcast, as a Bible hub, a gospel hub, shining the light on things that needs to be shined on, right? Shining the light for Christ here in the Sanctum Sanctorum. In the underground studios, yo, man, talking to all these Christians. How I get these interviews? I'm exposing the gospel, getting it out there. It's not just for me; it's for everybody else out there. Those people in India that listening to me, and Bangladesh, you know what I mean, and Punjab. I see you, and you're the one commenting, sending me these emails. Thank you so much for your support. Everybody listening to me in Ireland and Mexico, all over the United States, Canada, Germany, Egypt. Yo, I see you. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you so much for all the emails, for the personal emails that I get from the pastors out there in Ukraine. Man, I'm so thankful for all y'all. And I'm not lying, y'all. I'm just so thankful. I'm so grateful for y'all. So I want to answer one of the questions I've been getting mostly is, how do you get these interviews? Yo, Chicano Knox, I saw you talking to so-and-so. I saw you talking to so-and-so, right? Well, first and foremost, what I do is I'm a very ambitious guy. I'm very ambitious. I want to reach for the stars. I have this confidence about me where I'm like, I could do it. I know I could do it kind of thing. This drive, I have this energy about me that, I could put my mind on it, and I believe I could do it. You know what I mean? And that's where I take that kind of attitude, that kind of posture with my interviews. I want to talk to so-and-so, and I want to talk to him about this. I want to email him. You know what I mean? So I email them, and sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes I email them twice, sometimes 3 times, and sometimes I call them, introduce myself. But before all that, I always send a prayer to God. I always pray, in a Trinitarian, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, all of that. You know what I mean? We're reforming this podcast, so I don't just pray up there. You know what I mean? I pray in the name of Jesus, and I pray and I say, Lord, if it's your will, let me go ahead and talk to Justin Peters. Lord, if it's your will, let me go ahead and bring on Dustin Benge, professor, writer, author, big guy, and I want to talk to him. And that's all I say to the Lord. Lord, if it's your will, let it be done. Please let it be done soon. Bring them on my podcast. You know what I mean? And that's all I say. Nothing fancy. You know what I mean? And that's what I do. And, I send emails. I make phone calls. I introduce myself. I'm consistent and persistent. If you're gonna come on here and create content, like, you may know people, right? Maybe you're the kind of person that says, I know this guy, I know that guy, I have connections. So that's one way how people get interviews, is by going online and saying, who do I know? Like, they say, I know this person, I know this pastor, I have connections. So they work the connections. For me, I don't have deep connections like that. I don't know Joe Beakey off, you know what I mean? I don't know Dustin Benge or Justin Peters. All these people that I have on my podcast, those are not my connections. Like, that's not how I got them on my podcast, through a connection, right? I got them on my podcast because I prayed. I said, Lord, please, if it's your will, bring, Phil Johnson on my show. And then I call up Phil Johnson and I'm like, yo, my name is Jesse. I'm the Chicano Knox. I'd love to host you. You know what I mean? I'm a Reformed podcast, blah, blah, blah. He has questions and we just chatted up, and then boom, it's a natural, organic conversations that I have with all of these men, natural, organic conversations that I have with their ministries, interactions. And I bring them on, and I see that as an answered prayer. It's an answered prayer. So all the people that I have on, that I've had on my show, are 100% all answered prayers, and some of them are my friends. Some of them I had deep connections with, some of them I talk to on a routine basis, emails, Marco Polos, phone calls, you know what I mean? And so some of them have developed personally for me, some of them not personal, right? And that's fine. And so that's how I get them. It's this, I have this posture, this ambition. I started the podcast in season 1, not on YouTube. I didn't start off on YouTube. I started on Spotify, doing 100% audio. You know what I mean? And at a certain point, I was like, man, it's a lot of work. I had to study. It was like sermon preparations. I had to read the books, get the references, get the quotes, double check the scriptures. I had to write it all down like a semi script, so I won't go off script. You know what I mean? And it was a lot of work, man. It was like 3 days work, maybe 4, for like 1 hour. You know what I mean? And I was getting burnt out, and it was hard. And I was like, man, this is only one topic about the ecclesiology, about the doctrine of the church, and then it's so hard. So after a while, I'm like, you know what? Why don't I do it the easier way? Ask all my questions about ecclesiology, about the church, about Reformed theology a little bit, culture a little bit, but mostly about the church. And ask the experts. Bring on the people who are degree seminarians, all these experts, and talk to them on a real elbow to elbow basis. And the first interview I ever had was with Conrad Membwe. He is from Africa. I think he's from Zimbabwe. And he's the right-hand man of Voddie Baucham out there in Africa. And I was like, I want him. He wrote a book on the church. I want him. So he's from Africa. Hold on. He's from Africa. And I'm from the United States. I'm in Colorado. I'm going to call my first interview, cold call, introduction of who Bible theory is, what Bible theory is all about. My first phone call is an international phone call to Africa, Zimbabwe. And I get him By the grace of God, God answers my prayers. My first episode that I have an interview was in season 1, I think episode 13, episode 12. And we talked about the church, the structure of the church, just basics, you know? And that's how I get the interviews. And that's ever since then, I don't look back. I don't look back, man. And I'm going to continue get interviews. It's a hustle. I'm not saying it's easy. There's only been like a handful of people that said no, not because they don't like me, but because they're so busy. Like Paul Washer is one of them. He said no because he was in Afghanistan, you know, and I totally get that. Like, bro, I'm not going to pull you away from Afghanistan, you know, your concentration on ministry just for an interview with me. I get it. Like, totally kudos, bro. You know what I mean? And he's like, maybe next time. And I was like, all right, God bless. See you later. You know, Ray Comfort is another one. Like, I ministered with his son-in-law in the Super Bowl recently, a couple years ago in LA. And it was like, I met his son-in-law. His son-in-law is cool. And I had a connection. So I worked it. And he was like, nah, I had COVID. My wife has COVID. You know, I can't do it. And I was like, I totally get it. And he's like, maybe next time. And I was like, word, next time, bet. Anyways, that's how I get it. So it's a hustle, man. If you're going to do it, you're going to come on here and make content. You're going to come on here and get contacts and chase people. It's a hustle. Stay on it. If I could do it, man, you could do it. Okay, talking to inspiring Christians. This is what I'm talking about. This is what this after dinner party is all about. Talking to inspiring Christians. Chicano Knox. Yo, what motivates you, man? Like, what's some of the Bible verses? So I got this other guy texting me, and you know, he's a listener of the show, and he told me, he's like, do you have any Bible verses that motivate you to get some of these personalities? And I was like, yeah, I do. Let me go ahead and share some of those Bible verses that motivate me, that are behind my podcast. So one of them is Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 through 25. And I quote, and it says, let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Now, this is one of my favorite Bible verses when it comes to the gathering of the ecclesia, one of the most common Bible verses I have come to intimate knowledge with in my 3-year study about just this one topic, the church. If you've been following me for 3 years, you know one thing about me. I love the church. I can't stop talking about the church. You're going to listen to me. I'm going to convince you, y'all need to go to church. Everybody knows my one topic. I'm a dog hound. I smell that blood in the water. I'm chasing it. It's about the church, yo. And this verse is obviously about the church. I'm not going to break it down for you right now. If you read books about the church, like I have half my books are all about the ecclesia. And the reason why is because I'm obsessed about it. That's just my number one topic. My thing that I think about when I go to sleep, when I wake up, when I drink my coffee, I'm thinking about the doctrine of the ecclesia. And it's a fascinating study to understand it from the Roman Catholic perspective. And then you come to the Protestant side, you definitely appreciate the Protestant side more. But definitely you understand how the Catholics view it. It's amazing when you study everything. But anyways, this verse really echoes in my mind a lot, because it says, let us consider how we may help each other, root for each other, you know, push each other on to love and good works. So part of my podcast, one of my goals is to do that, create this energy behind my broadcast to help you, the listener, the consumer, the people who are following me, my supporters, my helpers, our community, you know, to help each other, to do love each other, to do good works. And podcasting is one of those ways. Another verse that really motivates me to bring people on is Psalms chapter 31, verse 24. And I quote, Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord. Podcasting is not easy. I've gone through the motions of being sad. Man, I lost a subscriber. Being happy, man, I gained a subscriber. Being competitive, like, man, I want to make my skills better. And if you've been watching me for 3 years, you watch my videos, my first production videos on Spotify. They're not the same production wise as in like my most of my common content that I create right now. Like, I've learned how to edit professionally with a professional program. I have learned how to do graphic design with a professional program. I have spent more than 24 hours of editing on one video for like 30. My Jonathan Edwards video for New Year's of this year took me about 24 to 26 hours of editing. My Jonathan Edwards video. And I've learned to be creative. What can set me apart from so and so does this, I want to do that, but better, different. I want to stand out. That takes skill, and it's hard, and there's a lot of emotions in that, a lot of investment financially, a lot of investment of your time, and challenging for your skills, because I didn't grow up like this. I didn't go to school for podcasting and editing and mastering and mixing and all this stuff. I had to learn on the go to the past 3 years. I would say I have a bachelor's. Like, if I want to say all the knowledge I learned about editing and all these things, I think I have a bachelor's degree in editing right now if I want to add up all my credit hours. So, yes, be strong when you want to make podcasting, because it's not easy. It's hard. Growing a YouTube channel organically, the old fashioned way, with real followers, not robots, because a lot of people who follow you sometimes could be robots. So if you have 1,050 million subscribers, chances are there's got to be at least 30% of that is probably robots, fake accounts, like bot accounts. You could buy those things. Like, if I wanted to, I could spend $1,500 and buy up like 4,000 or 5,000 followers. You know what I mean? And then boom, you know what I mean? I don't do that. I want to be strong and take heart. And this is a long road. It's a long road up to the hill, right? Long road up. Another verse. Psalms. Another thing that helps me is this psalm. I read this one a lot. Psalms 121 verses 1 and 2. It says, I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where do my help come from? I need help. It's not just me. Like, my wife helps me out a lot. My elders helped me out a lot. I had a lot of counseling in my podcasting career in these 3 years. So I'm not out here by myself, lonely in the bunker, not talking to anybody in real life, not having fellowship in real life. I have tons of fellowship. I have tons of accountability, tons of experience of taking notes. I have like about 4 books of notes, one for YouTube algorithm, one for interview notes, one for sermon notes, and then one for podcasting notes. 4 interview books. 4 notebooks here. 4 notebooks on 4 different topics, because I take this seriously. I take podcasting seriously. Talking to these people, I take everything I say, everything I hear, I'm very passionate about, and I listen very clearly, and I take it to heart, and I don't just let things fly. Like, I listen with intent. So, and I need help in that, because I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect human being. I'm not a perfect podcaster. Am I the best podcaster out here? Absolutely not. Are there better podcasters out there? Yes, 100%. Do I know some of them? Yes. Do I know many? I have gotten to know many other podcast content creators, like Jason at Dear World Christian is one of them. He's been putting in the time and effort to build his community, and I've been seeing the fruits of that. You know what I mean? But his style was different from my style, but yet we're all on the same mission together. So when he wins, I win. So it's not a competition, but my help comes from the Lord, right? So my podcast, like, I know I'm not perfect. I know I can't do this on my own. So like my wife helps me, Jason helps me, my elders help me. Like I got many different people helping me. So it's not just me alone on this journey. I'm very thankful for that. And I think the Lord has really brought this community to me during my podcast career these past almost 3 years. And I'm very thankful for that. And I really see the Lord's hand behind that. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Psalms 121. Romans chapter 15, verse 2. I've grown more and more appreciative of this verse. Each of us should please our neighbors for their good and to build them up. Obviously, this is a huge thing for the church, application to one another's, all these things. But for me in podcasting, I read that Romans 15:2, and I'm like, how can I bless my neighbors who are watching? The people who are watching me on here on YouTube, I consider them as my neighbors. Like you right now, you're my neighbor. I can't see you. I don't like. I may not even know who you are, right? I don't know what church you go to, or where you are in your journey with Christianity or with the Lord, or you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So like, but if you are a believer, even if you're not a believer, you're still my neighbor, right? And it's my duty to do you good and to wish you good and to help you. All these things. So like by me creating great content, blessing content that would help you on your journey, that's me doing my part by being a good neighbor. So creating content that I see, that I envision, like, man, I want to be a good neighbor online, right? So I'm sharing some of the Bible verses. I got maybe like 3 others, but for the sake of time, let's go ahead and continue talking about the topic of talking to inspiring Christians. I've talked to many Christians in my real life. I met John MacArthur in real life. I met R.C. Sproul in real life. I met all these great people in real life, many people in real life. But I never had R.C. Sproul or John MacArthur on my show. But I had many people on my show. So one question I got asked from a pastor in Phoenix. He was asking me, he was like, what have you learned, Chicano Knox, of doing 75 plus interviews in this past 3 years? I have not done as much interviews as Tucker Carlson. He's on another level, bro. He's on another level. He's interviewing great people, awesome people, people that have good things to say, and he's doing so he's doing so many interviews per year that my 75 plus interviews within the 3 year span is not as much as compared to him. So I do look up to people like Tucker Carlson to emulate a work habit, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like production level. You know how when you go to work and you're like, man, that dude sells a lot of cars. Like I want to sell like him. I want to be a great producer, right? Or I want to be a great construction worker, or whatever your job is. You want to be great at it, right? You want to master your role, right? To get a promotion. I see podcasting, my podcast, my job, my life here, because this is my life. Podcasting, it's like, this is me, this is who I am. I'm a podcaster. I wake up as the Chicano Knox, I go to sleep as the Chicano Knox. I'm not part-time Chicano Knox. You know what I mean? So like this is my personality. You know what I mean? This is me. So that's the kind of passion I bring, and I need to be better, and I need to learn from those who are better than me. And one of those people who is better at me at doing interviews is Tucker Carlson. The way he talks, questions off the top of his head, contacts, chasing consistency, not being let down when he's burned. All these factors are characteristics of what makes somebody great in their position and doing what they love. Because I love doing podcasting and I love doing interviews. I also look up to people like Joe Rogan a little bit. I don't agree with Joe Rogan with probably like 100 different things, theology, some of the philosophy, worldview, ethics, liberalism, politics, some of the stuff I would disagree with him. And I'm willing to have that conversation with him. But his ability to interview, his ability to have a conversation like no one can, it's better than 60 Minutes. It is better than mainstream interviewers. It's like I never seen anybody interview anybody, ask and step in and out of a normal conversation with big people like I've seen Joe Rogan. So I have taken notes and I have watched him from a student perspective to learn what can I learn from his ability, because he does have an ability. That's why he makes $200 million a year. Bro. Okay, so I learn from others who are better than me. That's number one. Number two, what I've learned in my interviews is I've learned to talk to people better. Wow, like my communication to talking to people has increased. I'm not perfect at it. Like I'm not saying I'm a genius in talking to people or I'm perfect. And my wife would tell you that I'm not. But talking to people, making my point clear, just listening, becoming a better listener as well. I think I've become a better listener. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I have learning. You know, when you talk to 75 people in 3 years professionally, you learn a few things. And I think I've learned seriously how to become a communicator, a better listener, listening with intent. And I also learned that it doesn't need to be boring. And I hate to say this, but sometimes when people interview people, it is sometimes boring. You know what I mean? A lot of the times it's personality, but I think most of the time it's not really the people, right? The persons that are talking that is boring per se. I think from the podcasts that I've listened to that are Christian and non-Christian that do interviews that are simply boring, is that they really don't want to I'm not gonna say entertain you, because I don't want to entertain people as much, but it's okay to have a little personality in it, you know, and there's a little jokes, a little game, throw in a little this, a little of that, season it with some humor or something, whatever you got to do to bring a different characteristic, a different personality out of the person you're having on. Because if you just sit there and, you know, do the 60 Minutes thing, then it's investigative. And I get it. Some people like investigative type interviews, like criminal investigations and stuff like that, like a detective, like cross-examining. I get it. But that's not what makes great podcasts. You know, Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson is not great because they're boring. They're great because they bring the characters alive. They bring the personalities to a different realm where you never see them in that realm, right? And they have a special ability to bring them there, and that's talent. That takes skill, talent, and I believe I have that, and I've learned that, and I've been learning that actually. And I'm continuing to learn that actually. So recently in this past season 5, I have put all the things that I have learned in my 75 plus interviews into practice. So that's why my season 5, that's why my seasons have been growing and evolving as they should. Your content should be getting better. Your interviews should be getting better. You know, the way you talk to people should be getting better. At least that's what I should say that's what I say to myself. And you can see that from season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4 and 5. You know what I mean? And I've seen that. I'm like, whoa. So I try to practice what I've learned. So like what I've learned, I put into practice. Interviews. What have I learned? Man, my doctrinal beliefs and positions of Reformed theology has only gotten stronger, more concrete. Like my faith in Christ have not only been encouraged, sometimes, and I'll talk about that later, but I'll leave that there. Just leaving the interview room, the studio, I'm like walking on air. Sometimes I run and I just jump. I'm like, woo! Woo! That's why I added this woo, because I feel like Ric Flair, man. When I leave these interviews, I feel like Ric Flair, man. I'm like, man, well, what an amazing interview. I had to like meditate on that, because I not only I learned something, I always learn, but like I just got strength in my belief in Jesus. My confidence and my hope just got stronger. You know, my belief in the gospel has just been more rounded out. You know, so I'm pretty sure I've learned hundreds of thousands of things, but I think those are some of the things that I've learned. Talking to inspiring Christians. Man, I talked to many, and this is what the whole show was about. So I really want to move on and I guess talk about some of my favorite interviews that I've ever had. I've been asked this question before and it's been hard to answer, because I feel like every interview I have is always a great interview. Like, not one interview I had was like low ball, low energy, nothing's going on, you know what I mean, like crickets. And I thank the Lord for that, man, because every time we go on, I always try to pray with the people, you know, with the person, and then, you know, pray for technology, because a lot of the times the biggest problems I have with interviews is with technology. You know, my technology, but not really. I fix my technology by investing in the top-notch quality products I could find in the market, but it's usually from the other side, because they're using their laptops, using their phones, using like whatever, and I get it, you know. So I cannot help that. I cannot control that. So technology is an issue with my interviews, but every interview is a great interview. But some of my top interviews that I've had, man, it's gonna be hard, and I know I probably will forget, you know, names. I'll probably forget many people who I've had on, because, you know, talking to 75 people in the span of 3 years in a short period of time, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Like I said, you need the Lord's help, and I believe I had the Lord's help. But some of my favorite would probably include, right off the top of my head, Dustin Benge, author, writer. Dustin Benge is probably one of my top interviews that I've ever had. To be honest, it was like, whoa, this guy is big, you know what I mean, and he knows a lot. So it's kind of intimidating. I was kind of nervous. I'm not gonna lie. There's some interviews that I've had that it's like I get nervous sometimes, because they're big. They're big personalities and they're smart, and it's like, it's not intimidating, because I got the Holy Spirit. I got confidence enough to be like, I could talk to anybody. You know what I mean? I could talk to Derek Jeter very comfortably if I really wanted to. You know what I mean? I have that kind of confidence and just in me that I know I can talk to Derek Jeter if I really wanted to perfectly. Fine. I'm not saying we could agree on everything, but I could talk to him in a conversation just perfectly. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of personality sometimes, that nervousness I get though. Like, would I be nervous to talk to Derek Jeter? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're not, then either one, you're a hater, and two, you probably don't have the maturity and skills to talk to Derek Jeter. But so talking to Dustin Benge, one of my top interviews, hands down, I would have to say, is probably Dustin Benge, where we talked about the church, his book On the Loveliest Place. It is inspiring to me to get the grand perspective, not just talk about this, you know, his book, like, ooh, he wrote a book. Like, yeah, there's many people write books, right? But like, we were talking about the church, and the way he just broke it down, the way he delivered it, the way he wrote it in his book, just made me walking away thinking about the church is the loveliest place, the best institution in the whole world, the greatest project, the most beautiful thing in the universe is the church. And you know, from that kind of perspective, this glorious, very grandeur perspective, this panorama view that he gave me, and there's more of it, right? That he said that I'm sure I'm not saying, but yeah, I walked away walking on air after that one. So that one has to be my top one. Obviously, there's others. Dr. Aquila. I had Dr. Aquila several times, couple times, and he is an awesome guy. If you don't know Dr. Aquila, go ahead and get to know him on his blog, the Aquila Report. The stuff that he has done. He used to be the moderator of a PCA assembly several years ago. He's pastored many churches, planted many churches, mentored many elders. His connections run deep in the PCA. Scholarly, started his own seminary. Like, my goodness, this guy's resume is awesome. And he's a jokester. He has this awesome, what's going on, man?
Vatos Locos forever.
And so, I'm just talking about some of my top interviews I ever had. I'm just reflecting and thinking about. So yeah, Dr. Aquan, like, he is so awesome to talk to. Smart, on his feet. He knows the book of church order like an encyclopedia would. Like, he's dependable. Just a great attitude to be around. So Dr. Aquila was definitely one of my top persons that I ever had on my show. And if you don't know Dr. Aquila, I suggest you get to know him. Let me see other top interviews I had. Javier Chavez. Javier Chavez is a pastor / missionary in Georgia, Gainesville, Georgia, and he is from Peru. He's a Latino. He's a Reformed Baptist guy, but he doesn't even come off as a Reformed Baptist guy. He comes off like, I love Jesus. I'm out here to get people for Jesus kind of vibe. And you're like, wow. And that's the kind of vibe I get. He strikes me as a great father. Like, I bet his relationship with his kids is like awesome. He travels the world in Latin America and he brings the gospel and helps raise up the next generation. Like, he just went around pretty much the world, last month, I think, in his past couple months. He went to Colombia, Argentina, Peru, Ecuador, Mexico. He went to like England and Scotland and, bringing the gospel, but not just like conferences, but like more of like intimate settings. So he does conferences, but not so much conferences to my understanding. I really love how Pastor Javier Chavez, Dr. Javier Chavez, is really in touch to the church, as in like zooming in, you know what I mean? Like locally, like in the kitchen, like outside in the backyards, meeting with these Christians in these remote areas in Colombia and Peru, Argentina, stuff like that. And like, that is an amazing ministry of what he's doing. He's one pastor that no one knows about, under the radar, that's punching above his weight class in the Reform world down in Georgia. Talking to him is very inspirational to me, because that's the kind of person I want to be when I grow up. It's like, I want to be like Dr. Chavez, man. Like, loving people. I want to have a great relationship with my kids when they go to college. And, I want to be smart, but like, I want to go out there in the world and engage, So like, Dr. Chavez is one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. A great person, just an awesome guy. He almost makes me want to move to Georgia. Another person, let me see, another top interview would probably have to be Christopher Yuan. Man, Christopher Yuan is such an awesome dude. He's a smart guy, wrote a book. He has a powerful testimony. If you don't know his testimony, I suggest you go ahead, read his book or listen to his testimony online. Christopher Yuan. He has a background with, something with homosexuality or something like that. Obviously, got converted. Powerful stuff. Okay. And I had him on my show. We talked about his book, talked about the culture a little bit, and how to reach, the LGBTQ community, some of his thoughts, and all kinds of cool stuff. But his personality, man, like you could just feel it oozing through the microphone of joy. Joy. He was a contagious, joyous bomb. Boom. And I was like, man, this guy's so, when you go around Christians, sometimes you get this like, man, this guy is so joyful and it's genuine. It's not like this fake joy or whatever, like he's trying hard or whatever, but like this joy that came out of this guy was like so contagious. I was like joyful for that whole week. You know what I mean? And I went back to listen to a couple of his lectures as other churches, and guess what? He still had that joy. And I was like, wow, like this guy is so joyful. He's not judgmental. He doesn't come across as like I'm in your face and like he doesn't have that at all. And he's a fallen human being like us, right? Saved by the gospel, same thing. But this guy is just joyful, man. And like I just felt like he is a smart dude. He's out there, he's big, he's known, and here he is talking to me, and he's giving me joy in the Lord. And that I had to put him in my top interviews that I've ever done because I'll never forget that joy from him. Dr. Barry York. I remember talking to Barry York recently in my season 5. He's a head of a seminary in Pittsburgh, and he definitely strikes me. He came across down to earth, man. Very humble, down to earth, like he's a grandfather kind of guy, not Godfather like in the movie, don't get it twisted, but like a like a tata, like an abuelito. Like I have grandkids now. I raise my kids, and he's really good at raising kids and like next generational thinking. That's the second vibe. So the first vibe I got from Barry York is that he's a great dude. What he's doing is a great ministry. I highly suggest you check out his blog called The Gentle Reformation. And you could tell that this guy's a family man. This guy really, but not just like a family man, like I'm gonna go take my son and play basketball. Like I'm sure he does that, but like more of a legacy. You know what I mean? Like future generation type stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's got 5 generations ahead of him, and he's got it like not all planned out, but like he's thinking about all 5 generations. It's like, whoa, like that's another level, man. Like, and he's doing that all the time. That's what I mean about another level. Not just thinking about your future generations, like your future grandkids, like 5 times a year. I'm talking about thinking about your future grandkids, being Christian in the church, following the Lord all day, all year. Like that's the kind of vibe I'm telling you about, man. Let me see. Yo. Yeah, he's gonna check it out, man. I'm just reminiscing here after dinner party. You know what I mean? Top interviews, Barry York, definitely check him out. He's such an awesome guy. His ministry is amazing. Anyways, another interview I remember doing that is top in my memory. It has to be Justin Peters. Talking to Justin Peters was really cool for me because like he was really close. He's really close to Grace to You Ministries, John MacArthur, and he has a really intrinsic, like close relationship, intimate knowledge about the prosperity gospel, charismatic movement and type stuff that it oozes out of him. And it's so easy for him to get into that. And I love it. And it's like, man, this is the kind of guy you want at your conference. You know what I mean? This is the kind of guy you want to invite over for Thanksgiving, bro. Like if I had the opportunity to invite Justin Peters for Thanksgiving, yo, Justin Peters, you're watching, come over to my house for Thanksgiving, bro. You won't be disappointed because he's the kind of guy you want for Thanksgiving, because he'll get into stuff about the charismatic movement and like the word of faith, like intimate knowledge, not just like personal experience, but like theologically intimately knowledgeable, that you're just like, this guy is a walking talking encyclopedia of biblical theology. I'm just gonna feast on it. So I was really loving that. Another one, Pastor Aldo from Miami. Pastor Aldo is an awesome guy because, you know, I got to know him personally. I'd say a little bit more personally than others. Obviously, I got to know other pastors personally, but you know, listening to him preach through the book of Acts, it's like, and he's a Presbyterian and he's hardcore Presbyterian, yo. And I don't even think people understand this, and people don't appreciate this about him as much, especially other Presbyterians. But I appreciated it, and I've learned a whole lot from him. Is that he preaches not like your typical average Presbyterian. I'm just gonna say that out there, and very respectfully, if you disagree with me, like, preaching should not have personality and passion. Like, I don't know about that. Like, I think many pastors would disagree with that statement. Preaching should be done with zeal, truth, passion, and real fervency that talks to the mind and the heart, you know what I mean, and all that. And I think he does all of that, and he does it more so in a style of a Pentecostal, a style of a Baptist typical preacher, yelling and fervently trying to scream at you, not screaming, but like, you know, just more of a charismatic vibe, not that charismatic like biting the carpet, but like just more out there, you know what I mean, than your typical Presbyterian pastor. And if you've been to more, you know, 10 Presbyterian churches, and then you go to Pastor Aldo's church, which is a PCA down there in Miami, you will understand. You'll be like, yeah. He's definitely like, it was like, wow, he's Presbyterian? Yeah. So that's one thing I absolutely love about Pastor Aldo and his preaching delivery, is that not only he preaches truth, but the way he preaches, I think, is true Reformed preaching, which is passionate, zealous, truthful, those type of things, right? In terms of homiletics and all that stuff, I don't know, but like the way he delivers it, the way he presents it is what's needed, and it's the traditional Reformed stuff, like what John Knox would preach. They called John Knox the Thunderer because he would preach like boom. Queen of Scots would be more afraid of John Knox preaching than an army of 10,000 men. And he would, you know, because he believes his stuff. He really believes it, and he's passionate on it. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate that from him. His post-millennial perspective is really awesome. The way he breaks it down, the way he's like really careful to be like, yo, not Doug Wilson, you know, Escondido, Two Kingdom stuff. Be careful. Like, he's really digging out the trenches really well for people, so you don't fall into the trenches. So I really love that. I really learned a lot from that. I think that's what I needed, was more where were the trench. Like, I knew there was trenches with Doug Wilson and Westminster, California, you know what I mean? But he really helped me to understand the trenches more and where they're at. So if you have not checked out Miami Ministries, Miami Reformation, or Reformation Miami, right? And Kingdom Polemics, then go check it out and you will not be let down. Definitely an awesome thing having them on. Another top interview, and I can list 20 more, but I'll list one more, is talking to Dr. Masters, Jonathan Masters, another head of a seminary. Talking to him was awesome. Talking to him, it definitely, he's smart. So he definitely gave this, when I was talking to him, he definitely gave this, you know, administrator type vibe, if that makes sense. Like, if you ever go to college, you talk to an administrator, you know you're talking to an administrator, right? You give that administration vibe, versus when you talk to a college teacher or something, there's a different vibe. It's not really administrative vibe, you know what I mean? So he did have this like administrative vibe for him, that you're like, you know, you're talking to an administrator. But at the same time, with that being said, when I was talking to him, he definitely gave this, hey man, it's all cool. Let me just explain it to you, you know, and he came across wise, very wise and gentle and loving in his approach and his explanation. that he was very helpful to, like kind of like you're going out hiking. You're going out hiking on a top mountain. You might need the help, over a ledge, and you need someone strong and gentle to pull you over that ledge. And I think Jonathan Masters was, for me in my mind, in that analogy, he helped me go over many ledges and talking to him. And it was amazing talking to him. I'll never forget that moment. One of the best. All right. So, wow, it's already been an hour. Yo, talking to inspiring Christians. Man, I wish I could talk about more, but hopefully I answered some of your questions. I know these are questions that I've gotten over the past 3 years, and I have never really addressed any of them all in 1 hour. So hopefully I address many of them for you. Hopefully you get encouraged by this, especially if you're a podcaster, especially if you're out there trying to start a podcast, or maybe you're just beginning to do a podcast. Hopefully my hustle, what I've done in these 3 years, would encourage you to do better than me, to one up me. Not because the competition. Remember, Paul says to the Corinthian church, like, we're all God's building, working for God's field. God owns the field. God owns the building. So it doesn't matter if you're from Apollos or you're claiming St. Paul. What is St. Paul anyways? What is Apollos? Who are you? Who are me? You know what I mean? Competition aside, God gets all the glory in all our work and our endeavors, whether it be on Spotify, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Instagram, or even podcasting, YouTubing here on YouTube. We all have one mission, one field, one God that we're trying to make known to this lost, dark, fallen world. And in my corner of the field, I'm doing podcasting. I want to talk to other farmhands, other people who are pulling weeds for the kingdom. I'm out here pulling weeds. I'm out here carrying the water bucket, so to say. And I'm just walking along, going to go get water to water the fields, talking to the other people who are carrying water buckets. A water boy. You know what I mean? So like that's how I see that picture when Paul's talking to the Corinthians. I think chapter 3. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's in Corinthians. And yeah, this is, this podcast is better than that podcast. Let's not get into competition, because competition is not healthy. I don't think it's healthy, and it's unprofitable, and it's not helpful. What is helpful is to say, if that podcast is better than me, then so be it, and may God get the glory for that, right? And I'm not here to beat him to the race, right? Beat him to the punch. We're all here for making God known. So if he's making God known and helping more people in doing that, right, then soli Deo Gloria. May God get all the credit. And if he's winning, if that podcast is winning, then I'm winning. You know what I mean? We're all on the same team here, going up to the celestial city, right? And with that being said, I'll go ahead and end it right then and there. Don't forget to go ahead and check out the ChicanoKnox.com. Check out my blog. And don't forget to show your support. Buy me a coffee, like I said earlier in the beginning. And please do me a favor. Subscribe. Follow me on Rumble and on YouTube. Hit the little bell for notifications so you will not miss a beep. You know what I mean? I got more dinner parties planned, more to do, more things in the future. People to do, people to see, go hang out, smoke a cigar, all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I'm out. I gotta go. Peace out.